Aloha. You're watching our weekly threat intelligence hotshots for the week ending July 5th, 2024. I almost said 2025. And as we do every week, we have our threat intelligence analyst, Alex Ryan. How's it going, Alex?
Hey, doing good, Peter. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thanks for introducing me since I forgot to announce my last name. So it's a holiday here in the States, but we're not going to leave you hanging here on the 4th of July long weekend for a lot of folks. Hope everyone had a fun, safe holiday, but let's get to our hot shots, Alex, what do we got going on this week?
You bet. Okay, so I just wanted to highlight a couple of things. So if we're talking about our top 3 ransomware players for the past week and the past couple of weeks, actually, play ransomware. So I don't hear about this a whole lot in the news, so I just wanted to bring it up. They are a pretty active ransomware, and their affiliates, as you can see here, are using your standard initial access vectors, VPN, valid accounts, those kinds of things, using PowerShell. Now, these are kind of living off the land type of techniques, which make them really hard to detect. But just make sure that you're looking for things like named pipes and things like that, because they're using SMB for local coordination between the compromised assets, and then WinSCP for data exfiltration. So just keep an eye out for them. Lockbit is still very active. Apparently, they had a great disaster recovery plan after they were taken down by the FBI. And Lockbit SUP. Some people call it soup. I don't get that. So I'm just sort of like, hey, Lockbit SUP. Anyway, so Dmitry isn't going to be leaving Russia anytime soon, but despite his being named as the ringleader or the administrator of Lockbit, they're still very active. So don't take your eye off them. And then Scattered Spiders had 2, in 2024, has had 2 arrests of fairly significant players in their realm. And so one in Spain and then one in Florida. However, this is a highly distributed group by design. And so it's not going to be very impactful that these 2 folks have been arrested. So keep your eye on them as well. They were pretty active the past week and the week before on your data leak sites, which tells us how many folks they've ransomed.
The it's just like, woohoo, play ransomware. And then to say they had a fantastic disaster recovery plan just goes to show you, like, organized crime, they got there together. And even that Scattered Spider, I mean, it's kind of hard to defend against distributed networks, and obviously hard to take down a distributed ransomware group. Now, I know you were excited about this one.
I love this so much. Oh, okay. So thank you, X Labs, for naming this botnet Zergeca. I'm going to say Zergeca, whatever. But it is named after the Zerg, which, if you play Warcraft, is one of the life forms that is very much a hive mind swarm type of attack vector, which is so perfect because this is botnet and it is made for denial of service attacks. So what it's looking for is weak telnet passwords and older vulnerabilities, and they're quite focused on a Linux platform. So what does that kind of sound like from a profile? Because if you said an IoT device, you would be correct, right? So get your IoT devices off the network, because if they are infected with a botnet like this, what happens is when the botnet is activated and attacks a target, your device goes offline and becomes unavailable to you to function in the way that you want it to. So that's its initial attack vector. Now, it's pretty cool because it has multiple uses. And just like the Zerg, it does evolve. The code is being updated and evolved by the threat actor that is running this. And so, you know, we use a hash as a type of indicator, but you can't find this. And there's actually very low detection rates on this malware because the code keeps changing and being updated and improved, but then also it's using DNS over HTTPS to talk to the command and control server. And so, we do a lot of detections based on hashes and, the domain reputation of the IP or of the domain name that something is communicating back to. But with DOH, DNS over HTTPS, you can't see that HTTPS, you can't see that domain name in the packet as it goes by because it's encrypted by HTTPS. Can't see it. So those two obfuscations or techniques in this botnet make it quite difficult to detect. So keep your eye on it. And it looks like there's a fairly experienced administrator. The IP for the command and control server used to run Mirai botnet. So the report is that probably they practiced with building a botnet using Mirai, but now they've developed this new botnet software that is more sophisticated and better obfuscated, and that is spreading very rapidly. So keep your eye out for that.
Climbing up the botnet ladder, as they say.
As they say, oh no, you got to go back.
Okay.
There you go. So how likely is this? And if it doesn't happen, if it does happen, what's the impact? So denial of service attacks have been, there since the beginning of the dawn of time. And I feel like I was there. So how significant are they? How likely? Like if there is one, is it just going to take your website down for 30 minutes and you're like, okay, I really don't care? Or if you look at the Cloudflare statistics, you see that year over year, it's vastly increasing both the frequency and the sophistication and the size of these kinds of denial of service trends. And so they really are something that we need to keep our eye on and sort of bring up in our evaluation list to say, what kind of defenses do we have upstream from these kinds of attacks? And the folks who tend to use this are hacktivists, because they want to get attention. And then also they can sell a denial of service type attack to other threat actors if they're trying to pressure a victim into taking a specific action. So hacktivism is sort of what we're going to talk about next, because it is a favorite tool of that kind of threat actor.
So I was just thinking of the oldest DDoS attack, and it would be like throwing dirt into somebody's eyes. So it's a dirt denial of service, and then they can't see. That's a pretty good one, eh?
That is the most awesome parallel I've ever heard. Well done, Ben.
And I guess with activism too, instead of say protesting in the streets or blocking traffic on a highway, they're just doing their protest digitally and potentially having a lot more eyes seeing it than just blocking traffic on the 405 or your favorite, the I-10.
The I-10, yes. Yay for Houston. Woo! So absolutely, we live our lives online a lot more, don't we? I mean, after the pandemic, nobody drives anywhere if we can help it. So yeah, absolutely. Impacting assets that are online really gets the attention for a hacktivist. And that is the point for a hacktivist. Now, collecting data, infecting with ransomware, that's really not their bag. All they need to do is make something unavailable. The media says, wait, it's down. Oh, wait, who are you? And what's your message? And boom, the hacktivist is won, right? Yeah. As soon as they get out into the media and they get their message out, that's really the point for them. So if we're looking at 2024 and we're like, okay, so where might denial of service attacks be launched? And we're seeing, this is so interesting that I've in the research that I found, was that the financial sector is actually being targeted quite a bit because, from the hacktivists' perspective, they are financing or supporting political and military activities that they disagree with.
Yeah.
So having a bank go down, pretty high attention, also being able to make a political statement there. And then also interesting healthcare that is associated with military support. They will do denial of service there. I was a total side note. There was totally cool paper just written about the mortality rates that happen in healthcare facilities when they are hit by a ransomware attack. Somebody posits that up to 20% more patients die when the healthcare facility is affected by ransomware. Anyway, go read that. But back to this. So significant events might happen in 2024 where we see DDoS attacks would be the Olympics, obviously in Paris, the World Cup. Do not mess with the World Cup. So I don't know, that might not be true, but that is kind of sacrosanct. And then political gatherings like NATO and G2 summit that we'll probably see. But again, even if you're not the target, your resource will be used to target. So even if you don't think, if you're not a bank, if you're not NATO and you're like, no, not me, sorry, they're using your stuff to attack them. So it really is you.
Yeah, disruption. And if you're going back to the earlier slides, even the, getting into those IoT devices could then be added to this particular botnet. And as bandwidth continues to grow, particularly with 5G, there's a lot more pipe to now send this disruptive traffic out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And we always got sources.
Absolutely. Check out that paper by CISA and the FBI about how to defend against these. And then, sort of have an idea of how would I identify in my network that my devices were being used to generate DDoS traffic as well. So let's break it on both ends of the attack lifecycle.
For sure. Wow, what a fun list that kind of came out of this week, especially on a holiday week. Fascinating stuff. Yeah, DDoS never seems to die. And now that they're kind of combining that with, ransomwares and credential stuffings, one of the things we're talking about is DDoS attacks can also be, not only clogging your pipe and causing issues, but also can be a distraction while, all the defenders are now focusing on this, network-based attack for, kind of when we boil it down, a credential stuffing attack could be happening over on the back end without, just because, no, we're just doing this to
100%. No, that's a really good point. Absolutely. Distraction is also another technique that's DDoS is used for.
Sweet. Thank you so much, Alex. Every week coming to town with some interesting content for sure. And certainly for you, if you enjoy this kind of content, we put it out every week just so you're aware of what's happening within the industry. It might be impacting you, and certainly something to keep an eye on in the coming weeks. So like this kind of content, you know what to do. Hit that sub, hit that like, hit that share. From my good pal, Alex, we'll see you again next week, Alex.
All right.
I'm
See you,
Peter.
See you, folks. Bye.
And we're with Cradlepoint. Thanks for watching.